And what's so incredible about that year is very similar to the year 1993 when Jurassic Park and Schindler's List came out in the same year. And this year, in 2005, War of the Worlds in Munich came out the same year. And it was post, the Iraq War and everything. And there's a scene, there's a dialogue in War of the Worlds, which I don't know if it's still, if it was in the version that I saw, because you saw it recently, but I remember it was definitely in the version that was shown originally. It may say very well still be in there. Tim Robbins' character says, "All occupations end." Right? There's a small segment of line in that, and obviously the film was more about like an aliens invading Earth, and it could be metaphorically used in any context, especially at that time, and I would say even now, right, with what's going on in the world. And for him to make Munich, which is something more or less pre-occupation of what's going on right now, and to have those two similar films about similar themes, but one being science fiction slash horror and entertaining, and the other being, pulled out from history and presented in a similar fashion. And there's a line of occupation in that film too. And I just thought that was fascinating, that how he uses themes, same themes, and just presents them in two different genres in one year.
It's, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I could wax lyrical forever about this, as you know. But watching the film yesterday, it's so explicit that it's addressing those, certainly the very immediate moment back in 2005 with everything that had happened in the previous several years. And the point's been made by others, not by me, but I am making it, which is that actually, if you put the Terminal, War of the Worlds, and Munich together, you get this informal trilogy, all within the space of 18 months at the movies, amazingly. You get this informal trilogy, even if we see that in hindsight. But I think it was actually fairly tangible while each of those movies was being released. But it was about America and, in fact, a more international community as well. But it was about all of the things you just talked about. And you actually get them in, and so you actually end up with them in the form of a comedy drama with The Terminal, a science fiction horror movie, and I always think about Munich as a thriller, of course, because I think that's a fair
Yeah,
description.
yeah, yeah.
Although what it also has in it, and perhaps not to talk about Munich so much today, perhaps there's another conversation another day for that. But I mean, Munich has this, that character of Avner is in such a state of crisis. Again, I mean, that's what drama's about, is about crisis. But as you say, with War of the Worlds, to be able to, and that's the beauty of science fiction, certainly, although any genre, is that you can give everything a metaphor. You don't have to deal with it head on in a sort of more literal way. And of course, watching it yesterday, of course, I'm watching it in a post-COVID world. I mean, so what did we know in 2005? But to watch it now with our memory of everything that unfolded 5 years ago, which now seems so long ago to me, at least, my gosh, you just kind of go, oh goodness me, this is even if you had no even if you watched, sorry, let me start again. Even if you watched War of the Worlds for the first time tomorrow with your memory of the COVID experience, if I can put it that way, but with no knowledge or experience of 25 years ago or 20 years ago in terms of, of things that were going on. Isn't that fascinating? I mean, stories do that all the time. They get reinvented and they take on new relevance and meaning for people at their moment in time. I mean, that's Shakespeare plays do it all the time.
Yeah.
He may have been writing about life in Elizabethan England, but actually, it's still got something to say in 2025. So, there was that really hit home yesterday, was just that sheer resonance of it now, 20 years later, in different ways, but just how. I don't know, just shot for shot. I mean, there's a shot right up at the front when he's playing baseball with Robbie in the back garden, and
Mm.
the ball goes through the window, and then there's and it was interesting because I remembered the shot, and the shot then just frames Ray in the curve,
The broken glass, yeah.
which immediately reminded me of the I mean, there are lots of examples, I think, aren't there? There must be, of course, but there are. But it reminded me of the shot of the jaw, literally the jaws of a shark, and the camera pushing through them. I guess in Quint's
Mm,
hut. But you know, all of those things, just all of those really lovely, elegant filmmaking devices. That's a bit of a cold way to put it, isn't it? But just, you know, frames within frames, and we've talked about the blocking a little bit already.
yeah.
But also, I think as well, just to stay with it for a moment more, you know, we were talking about, I suppose really what, you know, we're talking about is the kind of political, not I don't mean party political, but you know, the political resonance of the film, and you know, touching on things that people were certainly very aware of in 2005. But again, you know, the the image of the bodies being, you know, zapped by the tripods, and just the ash falling and so on. I mean, I don't want to sound trite about it, because I really don't want to be trite about it, but it immediately reminded me of the scene in Schindler's List when Oscar comes out of the factory at a certain point and sees the ash gathering on the wheel arch of the car, and then, you know, then we go from there and we understand what's happening. So I'm not saying that that's a conscious decision on the filmmaker's part to go, oh, I need to repeat that moment,
Mm,
but you as the audience, you've got, you know, any number of other films in your reference bank, if you like, and you know, it does all kind of come together in that way. And the other thing that really caught me as well yesterday, Jared, as well, just to say, if I may, was just the film was shot in the autumn, as people may well remember. It was shot very, very quickly for such a large project, between sort of October, November 2004 and into the new year of 2005. But my goodness me, that wintry autumnal atmosphere, which isn't in a sense present all the way through the film, but there are certainly any number of shots that are clearly filmed in a kind of autumnal light, which of course you can make that look very beautiful. I mean, if you look at, you know, Clint Eastwood's film Unforgiven, they make a real virtue of the autumn sunlight. But that autumnal and certainly wintry light and atmosphere,
adds up.
it's there. You know, there's a shot of the survivors, or people wanting to survive, you know, marching or walking across a kind of, I guess, a piece of farmland. It's certainly rural, you know, in a sense of almost like these refugees.